All right, welcome in everyone. Welcome in. We are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles again today, and today we are still on recess from court, although I suspect we won't be on recess for too much longer, but we have got to figure out who the Reaper is. So I think that's what everything on this case is hinging on. At least that seems to be the direction that we're going on. So let's go ahead and get a quick intro, and then let's hop in and see if we can figure anything out. So here we go. Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today, we're playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in today's episode, we hunt down the Reaper. Will we be able to find out who he is? I don't know. Let's hop in and find out. All right, so let us continue. All right, make sure everything's okay. Yes, we are going to continue. All right, so last time we were trying to talk to Kazuma and we were not getting anywhere. So let's see if there's somewhere else we can explore. So let's look. All right, so we have the hospital bed. We could check that out because she says we haven't been there in a while. Fresno Street Room, that's the scene of the crime. The prison, the hotel. We can't go here. Lord Chief Justice's office, Sholmes's suite. We have so many places. Let's check out and let's see if Mr. Vigil is back in the hospital. I don't know if he will be, but let's give it a shot. 2nd of November, St. Sinners Hospital, Ward 3. This is the ward where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently. To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again. Oh, there he is. Ah, the lawyer. Hello again. Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil? So he had, like, passed out in court? Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I'm so sorry to have caused you to... I mean, it was because of me. If I hadn't exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously tried to forget. He seems so dramatic. The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago, too. You just missed him. Oh, Kazuma beat us to it. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all this upon myself. Please, don't think like that. Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all these years, I've carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well. You mean about your dismissal? He's so dramatic about it. Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. I mean, he compensated me so generously for acting as his stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help. So perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then. He was trying to be a good Samaritan then? I'm sure this is just desserts for 10 years of lies and deception, but it wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago. It wasn't me. Oh man, so what happened then? I swear it's true. Oh boy. Oh, Mr. Vigil. What exactly is going on? I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened? He so looks like he's capable of doing that, guys. I want to. I need to get all this off my chest. I want someone to tell me what I should have done. Okay. I mean, we'll be happy to do that. Just tell us what all happened. Gregson's request. Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about. Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. So he's trying to track that down. It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him. You'd pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf. Oh no, never! A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do is go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. A little hoo-ha? Just something to leave an impression, so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here. So, that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident? Yes, he asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So, as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence. But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters. Yes. So you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud. And that's what the inspector asked me to do, yes. I mean, he was very good at his job. Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though. I mean... And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept to their word and released me. Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however. We had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street Room at 5 that day, so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot, which I think we determined was actually fireworks, right? Okay, what about the prison escape? Tell me about that. It was at midnight on 17th June, 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it? Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dared to imagine what a chilling plan it was. Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of the place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. Was it like the garbage, or was it like stuff from the morgue? I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct? Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yes. Okay. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers, which was you, right? And after that, no member of the staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again. Hey, is this blind and have you played previous games? Let's see. I have never played this one before. I played only the previous game in Chronicles. I played Adventures, so I have the two set, Adventures and Resolve. And this is my first playthrough of Resolve. So, welcome in, Kelsey. Good to have you in. Alright, so Iris is very confused. Or very surprised. When executions took place, only the executioner and coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had that confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork, having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. Okay. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut. That was part of the plan, I bet. No, I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived. So you mean the coffin contained... Yes, I can only imagine that Ashogi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. Oh man. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery. Presumably, there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long. So, in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free. But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. I wonder if he was. Like, maybe that was all a ploy too. Maybe he's the Reaper. I don't know. Let's see. What on earth really happened at Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder? Yeah, I'm really curious about it too. I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Ashogi couldn't possibly escape that way without help from somebody working in the prison. That was the coroner, right? Like, we already did that case on her? Or was it someone else? And that somebody was not me. I mean... Alright, so the convict Ashogi, tell us about him. Obviously you knew the man then. The professor, I mean, Genshin Ashogi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? He's got to recollect it all? Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary. They called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity. Yeah, the outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it? It was a time of delicate diplomacy when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. So basically the trial was just for show then? Is that what they're saying? That meant that this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly. The man had less than a week in total. As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience. You know, that's not the first time that people have called him noble. It's really making me wonder if he really was the professor. Like, I know he was convicted of it, but maybe he wasn't actually the one. What do you mean exactly? He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, were you really responsible? I am guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. The way that's worded makes me suspicious. The following day, the closed trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise. Guilty, of course. That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something unusual. Something unusual? What? The last will and testament of Genshin Ashogi. Oh? Okay. What was in it? That's very curious. As I said, it was on the night following his trial, after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the round of the cells, and when I looked into Ashogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand. Ah, his last will and testament then, presumably. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back. I wonder why? But why did you find that so unusual? Maybe there's not a lot of death row convicts that are making will and testaments? Isn't it normal for a man to pin his will when he knows his death is nigh? Yes, that's true. But there were special conditions to Ashogi's incarceration, you see. What sort of conditions? Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception. Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly. Of course, he'd been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy. But at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined, and that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable. Okay. And what was the exception you mentioned to the personal effects he was allowed? Yeah, I'm wondering, what was he not allowed? And that's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper. So how did he get the paper? So he was prevented from leaving any written record of what had happened to him? Yes, that was the long and short of it. I've no idea where he obtained that paper. Any writing materials would have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. And as I said, he hid the paper behind his back, and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back? Please turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But you know it's against the rules. You're the only person who's seen. If you just agree to keep quiet. Right then, but what's on that paper? A last will and testament. Oh boy. This will is the only weapon I have left now. I wonder what's on it. That's really curious. How can a will be a weapon? That's what I'm wondering. Like, did he leave money to someone? Or, I mean, like, what is the deal? Like, so I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing, and I let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to vanish without a trace. What? What do you mean it vanished? So maybe he was lying about it being a last will and testament. It would seem that isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will. I mean, that's what it seems to me. Like, now we have to figure out about what was in the will. Was it really a will? I was the only person who saw Ashogi's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Ashogi's execution, which was actually an elaborate jailbreak. Right? The warders gathered up Ashogi's possessions that were in his cell, and they were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see. To poor Kazuma-sama. And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found among his personal effects? The will, I mean. That's right, though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Caden was livid. He was screaming, "It cannot have disappeared completely." Then he knew about it? That doesn't quite make sense, though, does it? In what way? I mean, how did he know about it? Well, we've understood that only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. Exactly. That's what I'm like. How did he know about that? In which case, how did the prisoner governor know to look for it? Oh yes, you're right. I mean, yeah, what is the deal there? I really don't know how he knew. Maybe that's why he was let go. But it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was, the Ashogi Papers. The Ashogi Papers? What in the world? I really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened. Your dismissal, and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I'd forgotten all this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though. Oh, I don't know about that. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful. I wonder if we need to go visit a certain prisoner governor. I'm afraid there's really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but... No, not at all. Thank you again. Okay. But what will become of you now? Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested. Oh man, even though Gregson was okay with it, that's crazy. I'm so sorry. Don't be, please. This was all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil. I mean, that's kind of a sad end to his little tale there. Ah, before you go, there's just one thing. Oh, yes? What is it? It must have just come back to him? The Ashogi papers. Did you just remember something? I'd be very grateful if you'd make no mention of the things I told you about them. Presumably for some good reason? I mean, because we do got to follow up on that lead, my guy. It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I'd remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think. Oh, someone might put a hit on you, huh? I understand. Then how are we going to handle this? Some sort of will that Genshin Ashogi penned just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder, is it like state secrets or something? Perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape? Maybe. If there's anyone who might know more about a document that Kazuma's father left behind, it would be Mr. Vigil's governor. Well, that's what I was thinking. Then we know precisely where to go. Back to Barclay Prison. All right. Well, you have a nice day there. We're going to head back to the prison. He seems to not be doing very well. All right. Let's head back to the governor's office. 2nd of November, Barclay Prison, governor's office. Oh boy, this guy again. Back again, are ya? Yes? Hello? I've heard all about your investigations. I read the report just now. You found him, eh, Vigil? Yes, luckily. Well, anywho, the laddie does not work here no more, so your case is not to do with Barclay. I would not like you to get the wrong idea about that. Of course, yes, Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so... Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop. Iris has such a way. Aye, Kimmer, you can very well. So how about a wee handcuff biscuit? Oh, they really are like little handcuffs, and as hard as irons, too. So, what's brought you down here today? Well, there's something else we'd like to ask you about, actually. That's all. We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Genshin Ashogi's cell. I think it's been called the Ashogi Papers or something. We immediately started asking people about it, like, please keep it a secret. Okay, let's immediately ask about it. Did I no say Gregson's death is not to do with things that might have happened at Barclay? Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let no footer about with irrelevant details. His expressions change completely. We're clearly on to something here. I mean, that's what I thought. He's definitely hiding something. Alright, my guy, it's time to fess up. 10-year-old legacy. That murderer's botched execution and the whole miserable escape. They were Barclay's darkest hour, aye. A shocking embarrassment. Because the convict had a collaborator on the prison staff, you mean? I don't know if that would have been the forensic doctor or not. I'm not sure. Aye, for shame. The coroner who confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Scythe. Okay, it was her then. I am my chief warder at the time, Vigil, who was in charge of the whole affair. But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it. The rascal wouldn't say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs. Oh, how could I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet. When Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what had happened, he was so despairing he jumped out of your office window, didn't he? I dinna like to say, but that's just Vigil trying to get out of it. Do you not think he would not have jumped from the shock of his crimes being exposed, eh? I do. You wouldn't say otherwise, though, would you? I mean, that's true. Of course, I cannot shun all responsibility myself. I shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that kens what went on at the time now. Gregson having been murdered and Dr. Scythe forbidden from having any visitors. No visitors? Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away. This seems to go way deeper. Well, we're not going home empty-handed. Iris is definitely going to get her way. And I wouldn't kind of sending you packing with no Kimmer. Here, take a handcuff or two. Oh, well, it would be rude of me to say no. Wouldn't want to become anemic. Oh boy. I suppose if there's anyone who might still ken what happened back then, it'd be that last from the forensic division, Mariah Gorey. Oh, this is a new person? Maria Gorey? Aye, Scythe's daughter. Oh man, we met her. She was kind of freaky. She did not have no more, just the one. But the wee bairns followed in her mam's footsteps. You did not ever see her without a scalpel in her hand. And she seemed a little crazy when we met her too. Ah. Oh boy. Yeah. This chick. I remember her now. Mama, what is this? Where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? She's like wearing a plague doctor mask. Dr. Scythe's daughter, Maria Gorey. We could do with talking to her. Okay, so what about her? So she's Dr. Scythe's daughter, but her surname is Gorey? Aye, there's some family history, I'm sure, but I did not ken the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching her mom working with the bodies of folk who died in strange circumstances, and decided to do the same with her own life. I cannot understand it myself. Alright, let's take a pause for the ads. So what do we think is going on here? Like, so when we did talk to her before, she was definitely a little over-eager to be putting the cut out. Like, I seem to remember just thinking she was a little cuckoo. And we were kind of glad to, like, Dr. Scythe seemed the normal one of the two. And we already know what Dr. Scythe is capable of. So what exactly do we think is going on here? Will she even talk to us? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm not sure. I think we can probably say, right now we think the Reaper killed Gregson. Why? Because he was investigating the Reaper. But who is the Reaper? That's the main question we have to answer. I don't think it was Van Zeeks. And I think we have to say Vigil is innocent now. He was just kind of in a series of unfortunate circumstances, really. But he's not really giving me killer vibes anymore. He's giving me woe is me, poor me vibes. Plus, I feel like Gregson could have overpowered him, so I don't know about all that anyways. And I still want to know why your clock over here is a guillotine. That's just kind of messed up. Anyways, it looks like the ads are over, so let us continue on. Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother. Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe. What if she was the conspirator and not her mother? What if everything, you know what, that would actually make a lot of sense. What if everything Dr. Side did was to protect her daughter? Like, throw her career down the toilet to protect what her daughter did. That would make a lot of sense. Like, if she somehow, but was she around back then? I guess she would have been. I mean, it's only 10 years ago. She'd have been a lot younger, though, so I don't know. We'll have to see. So she was in charge of Gregson's autopsy. Right, and the coroner responsible for this incomplete report, so she didn't put the when he died on it. Someone told me that the wee lassie always loved her mam's stories about cutting up bodies. There's even a rumor that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby. Just a wee bit dark there. Well, then perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago. Maybe. I'd say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, this was a life-changing case for all of us. We really need to speak to Miss Gorey herself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much. All right, I think we still have a few more things to talk to him about, though. I'm not happy about any part of this. It took 10 years for Londoners to finally forget the whole professor business, and now it's getting dredged right back up again. Can't, give up on this laddie? Stop asking pointless questions? I'm sorry. I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone. But I feel like it's all connected. Can you not just stay away now? Leave me alone and dinna come back here, eh? I mean, tell me about the Ashogi papers. How do you ken to know about that, laddie? There's no many folk even here in the prison who've heard of those papers. Well, I can't tell him Mr. Vigil told me. I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir. Oomph. He didn't get the answers he wanted. We've been led to believe the papers are actually a last will and testament. Is that right? The professors, or rather Genshin Ashogi's. Yeah, you're starting to get along with it too. Like, you're not necessarily convinced. Maybe? I don't know. Like, there's so much smoke and mirrors here. Aye, that's right. You're well informed, Jimmy. Oh, is that the end of the silent treatment? But then after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it? Hey, there's no, you're off half-cock there. You're half-cock there. I think you did not quite get your facts straight. It was there in the cell, exactly where it should have been. Oh, not what we heard elsewhere. Does he have it? Let me just have a wee hook around here. I'm sure I can find it. Oh, really? Aye, here you are. See? The last will and testament of Genshin Ashogi, written with a calligraphy brush. Of course, I cannot read a word of those Japanese squiggles, but I mind it says he leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland. Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it. So these are the Ashogi papers. Aye, of course they are. Papers written by Ashogi, and they don't about it. There's no mystery here, laddie. That's your lot. I don't know about that. After all the stremish of that slicer of an execution, we sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan, and that was the end of it. I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruhodo, just in case. Okay, the last will and testament of Genshin Ashogi that Mr. Vigil claims disappeared after the convict's execution. Apparently, Mr. Ashogi described it as the only weapon I have left. We need to look at those, too. One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, yes? Those papers are not to do with Gregson's death. I'd prefer it if you did not make no mention of them outside this office, or rather, wouldn't I just prefer it. Consider it an order from the highest levels or government. Really? I understand. We're probably not going to listen to you, but I understand. All right, let's see. Now we need to go talk to who? Let's go see who we need to talk to now. I think, where did we need to go now? I mean, we could, oh yeah, we needed to go talk to, where can we get there? We need to go talk to Maria Gori. Fresno Street Room, the prison, Waterloo. It doesn't look like we can go there yet. Is there something else that we can examine here, I wonder? I'm not sure. Is there anything we need to look at? I don't think he'll let us look at it. That's a very large cabinet full of papers, isn't it? It's labeled inmate register, look. And all the files are in alphabetical order. That's 50 years worth of records of Barclays inmates. Whether or not they left alive after serving their term. All the details about the crimes they committed are recorded in there, like an epitaph, you might say. A record of crimes and punishments. How dispiriting. And yet, this man seems to be enjoying tea and biscuits as he talks about it. I mean, have you seen his clock? Alright, let's take a look. Let's take a look at that will and testament. I feel like I'm curious about this. The last will and testament of Genshin Oshogi. I, Genshin Oshogi, hereby request that upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son, Kazuma Oshogi, in the Empire of Japan. It is with deep sadness that I accept my fate in this foreign land, in the knowledge that I will never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. Interesting. I'm not sure exactly what to think of that. Maybe we can go talk to Vigil again about what he said. Let's go see, because we can't visit the coroner's office yet. So let's see. Well, at least he seems to be on the mend. You know, his disguise as Mr. Gossip was really quite masterful, wasn't it? I can't remember anything about it except for the floppy lip. I imagine not even his wife would have recognized him. Perhaps, but did he really have to take it quite so far? Can we... I guess we can't really present anything to him. And we can't, like, talk to him. I'm not sure what else we could look at. Alright, well, where can we go to then? Let's see, we could maybe try talking to Kazuma again. Maybe now that we have the Oshogi papers. Let's see. Prosecutor's office. Okay. Can we present to Kazuma the Oshogi papers? Let's see what he has to say about that. Kazuma, what do you make of this? There's only one place where defense lawyers and prosecutors should discuss evidence, the courtroom. So it seems you're still confused by the situation. That's what I make of it. I get the feeling my friend's always gonna have the edge over me, isn't he? Okay. Can we say anything else to him? Nothing? Alright, and we don't have any other new evidence, so where else can we go? Let's look and see. We can't ask him anything else yet. The prison. Prison governor's, the decorations here in the governor's face, they're as terrifying as each other. Father seems to be enjoying a relaxing environment. Where can we go? Great detectives full of enigmatic marvels. I don't know where we go from here. Is there something? Let's go back to the legal consultancy and see. All right, so the 2nd of November, Naruhodo's legal consultancy. Let's see. What do we do? Are you all right, Mr. Naruhodo? It's rather unusual to find ourselves here in the middle of our investigations. It's just occurred to me that I might have forgotten something when we left this morning. Please, don't worry. As long as you continue to investigate thoroughly, you won't go far wrong. Oh, yes, of course. I must get back to work as soon as possible. Well, okay. Is there anything we've forgotten? We could look at the autopsy report, right? Maria Gori. But how can we talk to her? That's what we need to figure out, is how we can get that location to appear, right? Commemorative photograph. All right, I guess we're just going to visit the different locations and see if there's anything new, right? Let's see if Sholmes is around. Maybe he's around. Does Iris have anything to say? Nothing new. And is Sholmes here somewhere? Not over there. Not over there. Okay. Because I'm kind of at a loss for where we go right now. Lord Chief Justice's office. I don't know what we would say here. Nothing here. Okay. The hotel. Maybe we talk to Cesato's father. Nothing there. Is there something we need to... Maybe we need to examine something in the prison governor's office. Like, can we just examine the clock? This grandfather clock is fitted with a terrifying blade that keeps dropping down. It's modeled on the guillotine, a French execution device. You might have heard of it. And yes, before you ask, it can chop heads off, you mean? Hey, there's no carrots and parsnips and so forth. Oh boy. Oh. If you place a large carrot at the bottom there in the morn, by evening it'll have cut clean in two. Well, the blade must have an almost indescribable edge on it then. Oh boy. What else can we examine? An axe, a hunting rifle, and 4 pairs of handcuffs. That's a daunting collection. Ah, there's a story behind every one of those. You mean the rifle was a famous killer's murder weapon, and the axe was wielded by an infamous executioner, and the handcuffs were once used to immobilize a fierce 4-legged beast when it was arrested? I think you're in the realms of fantasy now, Mr. Naruhodo. Not those kinds of stories, Jimmy. That axe was the one I used to chop down the cherry tree at my house. Mrs. Caden was not best pleased. Oh boy. And the cuffs on the left are the ones I caught my first burglar with back when I was a bobby. Okay. I see. The stories were a little different to those you imagined, I think, weren't they? A little bit, yes, to my relief. And in some small way, my disappointment. Alright, what else is there? Is there anything else we can look at? There's a big bird there. I never have expected to find a parrot in a prison. It must be the governor's pet. Given where we are, it's hard not to see the poor creature as a prisoner. Let me out! Do not kill me! It's imitating him? Has the bird learned to mimic the plaintive cries of the inmates in the cells? Oh, no, he was one of 3 siblings, Josie. And he still calls out the names of his 2 brothers like that all the time. Right. Let me out. Did not kill me. I hear you, laddie. You want your dinner, eh? Then I'll do it. Okay. Interesting. What else? We got pictures up here? I suppose these are all former governors of Barclay Prison, are they? Either that or former inmates who the governor has sent to the gallows. Oh dear, they all have such severe expressions. I really couldn't deny either possibility. Especially the one on the extreme right. His expression goes beyond severe into a whole new territory. Oh boy. That one's me. Ah, I'm terribly sorry, sir. Oh boy. Is it a prerequisite of the job, perhaps? Having a severe expression, I mean? Of course it's not, although it is taken into consideration. A lot. I would think so. Okay, is there anything else we can examine here? That was the window. I think we might have explored everything. Well, I mean, there's the deer head. I guess we could look at that. That deer has been staring at me for a while now. It has? The poor thing can't fit through the small hole in the wall, but it can't get its head back out again now either. It's giving me a woefully imploring look. Oh boy. It's not real, Mr. Naruhodo. It's stuffed. Mm-hmm. What? I mean, yes, of course. Of course it is. For a moment, I thought it was another assassin sneaking in via the ventilator. Oh boy. I don't like to say, but I think perhaps you need to reread The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. I mean, I guess. Alright. So, let's see. Where else can we move? Wait, because we finished talking to him, right? Yeah, we finished talking to him. So, is there anything else in the prison that we need to talk about? Okay. I think we talked to him about everything. We haven't really gotten any new information, I don't think. So, let's continue on. Anything in the street room? Anything at the crime scene we ought to be examining? 2nd November, room on Fresno Street. Okay, is there anything we can examine? Like, what's with these? I don't know. We can look at the picture of Mrs. Vigil. The photograph of Mrs. Vigil. Realizing the identity of this lady was a very great clue to exposing Mr. Gossip's true identity. He obviously loves his wife very dearly. Okay. Which is why he felt he couldn't tell her the truth. The transformation was incredible, wasn't it? Just from that big twisted lip? Yes, he went to extraordinary efforts to play the part of Hugh Boone convincingly. Although, it didn't really seem like it was that much of an effort to me. Now you say it, I have to agree. It's almost as if that was Mr. Vigil's true character. I mean, could be. People really are very hard to fathom at times. Okay. Do we have anything over here? There's nothing really new. We've already talked about all of these things, right? I mean, I guess we could look at this again. I don't really know what we're gonna get from here, though. If it turns out Gregson didn't actually die in here at all, where on earth could he have been killed? Well, one way or another, we must find out for the inspector's sake. Okay. You know, you look awfully pale again today, Mr. Naruhodo. Ugh, sorry. When I start thinking it all through, I conjure up horrible images in my mind. Your imagination is the culprit here, then. Most certainly guilty. I mean, yeah. Alright, so what was the wig doing here, I wonder? It catches your eye as soon as you enter the room, doesn't it? It's such a bright color. It certainly makes an impression, yes. They can't possibly commit any crimes, can they? I mean, redheads stand out like a sore thumb. I'm afraid with our jet black Japanese hair, we stand out almost as much here in London. I suppose that's true. Okay. You mustn't think of committing any crimes, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't think that's where our mind was going. I wasn't. Oh boy. The gun. Okay, why was the gun here? This revolver. Just who does it belong to? Well, we know it's of the type issued to members of the police force and judiciary. But Gregson's own gun was found on his person. And of course, Lord Van Zeeks has admitted to losing the firearm with which he was issued. Such absent-mindedness. Not dissimilar to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Okay. I'm starting to think the cold, hard prosecutor and I could become friends after all. Then I wish you every success. Have we gotten any new information? That's what I'm curious about. Let me look. I feel like we only got one new piece, but we talked about something else. We talked about the autopsy report. But I feel like maybe that's what we need to present to Kazuma, because it was talking about that Kazuma beat us there, right? Like, he didn't like the other piece of evidence. He may just tell us to go away again, but let's go try and talk to him, because the only other place we've already been to Mr. Vigil's bed, and then it's the prosecutor's office again. So let's try this again and see. All right, so the only other evidence that we have that we picked up at the governor's office was the autopsy report, right? Where we learned about Maria Gori being the coroner. So let's see what he has to say about this. This came up in the trial, didn't it? As something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded on Inspector Gregson's autopsy report? Yes, there were some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier. The suggestion you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea that the victim died the previous day at some other location is quite something. Well, considering when the pocket watch had stopped and the scorch marks on the candle, it's certainly a distinct possibility. The evidence in the scene both point to it. To be honest, it bothered me too. So I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. Oh, maybe we'll get to go there. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gori. Which is what it says on the autopsy report, right? If it wouldn't trouble you, Kazuma-sama, we'd very much like to speak with the coroner too. Of course. The last thing I want is for anything to be brushed under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory is behind Lowgate Cemetery. Lowgate Cemetery? By Barclay Prison, you mean? Ah, you know it, do you? The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life. Kazuma-sama. Well, thank you. We'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today. And by later today, I of course hopefully mean right now. Ryunosuke, I want to thank you. What for? For this. You safeguarded the soul of the Yashogi clan. Well, it is a famous sword that's been in your family for generations. My only slight regret is that I never got the chance to draw it before I returned it to you. Haruma is said to have been forged by a master swordsmith during the Shingoku Warring States period. I come from a long lineage of warriors, many of whom were expert swordsmen. Well then, you're a chip off the old block, I'd say. This blade, Kuruma, is the symbol of the Ashogi clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for a surname. Really? Kuruma. It does sound formidable, that's for sure. 16 years ago, when my father was a visiting student here in London, he had this sword forever at his side. Which is why it means so much to me that I have it by my side again now too. I wonder, did he maybe hide the paper, the actual shogi papers, in the sword? I mean, he said we never got a chance to draw it. That seems like the perfect place to hide papers. And it would make sense. It would explain why we're suspicious of this supposed last will and testament. I wonder. And that is all thanks to you. It was an honor. I'm very curious now. Will we get a chance to find out? He's had the weapon this whole time. Now, I have preparations to make for tomorrow. Perhaps I said a little too much. I mean, he was sort of like our old friend again. Kazuma, you've changed. No, Ryunosuke, I haven't changed at all. It's you who's changed. Have we? I can completely understand your resentment of Lord Van Zeeks given what happened, but the fact is, those events in this case are, well, unrelated? Is that what you want to say? How can you be so sure? What do you mean? Never mind. That man is the Reaper, and it's for that reason that the inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as much in court tomorrow, by whatever means necessary. I can't let you do that, Kazuma. I know you'll do what you have to as a lawyer, but I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I won't be taking any prisoners in the courtroom. Oh boy, I would expect nothing less. It's gonna be an epic courtroom battle, man. Until tomorrow then, in the Old Bailey. Alright, so we hopefully... Yes, okay, now we can go finally to the forensic laboratory. Let's go check it out and talk to Maria Gori. It seems to have gotten a lot more twisted since her mother is gone. I mean, my. 2nd of November, the forensics laboratory. This place really is creepy, isn't it? Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, the coroner probably needs a bold scent like that to mask the odor of death. I mean, always the realist. Iris? Do you think we could change the subject? Oh boy. She's cutting something. Shink, 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 shink. Alright, well, let's take a pause for the ads and then we'll see what this is. But yeah, look at all these decorations. It's crazy. There's her little plague doctor mask. And we've got some very interesting decorations there. So, what do we know right now? So, I think, my theory, I think because of the way things have played out, there is something about the Ashogi papers, and it's not what we've got in our inventory. I think the real Ashogi papers are in that scabbard of the sword. It makes sense if you think about it. He was trying to hide it. Why would he just leave it there? And if the will and testament that the governor had was the real papers, why would he be talking about it couldn't have disappeared? It's got to be something else. Why is he wanting to keep that will secret? That makes no sense. There's literally nothing secret in it. It's a very cut and dry will and testament. Like, that makes no sense why that would be a state secret. Why would the government care about that? That can't possibly be it. So it's definitely got to be something else, which hopefully we will find out soon because yeah, it's getting interesting. Almost done with the ads. We got about 30 more seconds. All right, so the ads are over. Now let's see who's doing this cutting. What? What was that? It definitely sounds like somebody cutting into, like, I mean, I guess it could be fabric, but probably flesh. Oh, it's just fabric. Dr. Gory? What's she making? What? That noise before? Oh, I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't keep a perfectly keen edge on them. Oh boy. Right? When following the collagen fibers in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I'd love to see. I love how Iris is just not affected at all. Like, completely unaffected. And then I think you'll do nicely. No, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time. Disc. Was that a tut? Well, we came here to ask questions, so... She's sharpening her knife for us. Let's talk to her. Time of death. And we need to find this out. We have actually met before. I'm a lawyer, if you remember. You're not dead yet. What? So Mama said I wasn't to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that. Well, good. Dr. Scythe has some scruples at least. No cutting open the living. Oh dear. It looks like she's not interested in talking to us. For the time being, anyway. For the time being? You mean until we die? I hope that's a way off. Yes? Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. Tisk. Surely there's some less drastic way of making her listen. Okay. Well, let's see what we got in the court record then. What do we have? Can we just present the autopsy report to her and see what she says? Let's see. Let's present. Let's see if she'll just talk to us if we just present this. Dr. Gory, we actually came here to ask you about this. He was very good. Good? Sorry? His skin didn't snag my blade once, and very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with. Oh, we can skip those details. But there is one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death. You shocked? Oh, that's not my fault. Oh, that made me jump. Then please tell us what happened. Okay, now let's talk about the time of death again. So why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really the most crucial detail. I was told not to write it. What? By whom? Mayor Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice. He came here. Lord Strongheart came. He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence, it was obvious. The man clearly died at 5 p.m. on 1st November when the gunshot was heard. But that's not the time of the death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it? Is she gonna tell us? Dr. Gory? If you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later you're going to go the same way as your mother. Give it here, then. Hmm? She's gonna write the actual time of death then? What's she scribbling so furiously about? There. You, you've written... What? What's she written? Tell us. Indeterminate? But... Okay. The details of the autopsy report have been updated. According to the coroner, an accurate estimation of the time of death is not possible. Why? What do you mean by that? Why was the time of death indeterminate? When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh. So the time of death could easily have coincided with when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy. What discrepancy? There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. Of course there was. And that fish had started to rot. What? If the victim liked fried fish, he presumably liked to eat it before it went off. Well, yes. What are you really trying to say? It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death. Manipulate the... Is that even possible to do? Of course it is. Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction, and if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time, then only the fish would have started to rot. With today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not. But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems. But surely, to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. And I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not. But maybe in a factory or some other special places? I don't recall seeing any factories or such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow. What might the actual time of death have been? I couldn't say for sure. But at the most, it might have been a day earlier. No. In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Norhodo. That Inspector Gregson was killed a day before his body was discovered, at a different location. Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility? He simply said there were no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity. Oh yes, one other thing. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother, Dr. Scythe, was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution. The professor? Apparently you always enjoyed listening to your mother's stories about her work, so we were wondering if you might know something about what had happened 10 years ago. That's not all Mama did. Sorry? My mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks as well. What? Really? The brother of Lord Van Zeeks, the professor's final victim. The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted, and it was miraculously authorized. The detective being Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man. That autopsy provided the vital clue needed to arrest the killer. So, maybe she was reframing him from the get-go. What's going on? And Mama was there for that historic event. What does all this mean? You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint Van Zeeks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on that dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events. She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you'd tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gory. Will she? Let's see. Oh boy. The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay Prison's execution chamber and sign the certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama is the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her. But the execution didn't actually take place. No, and worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. I didn't want to know. Oh dear, you found out recently, you mean? I believed in her, in Mama, but now I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her. Because of this signature. You mean because you admitted the time of death on this autopsy report? But that's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it. Just like Mama, I'm sure she was coerced by somebody too. I mean, that's probably true. Yes, that's my feeling as well. There's something deeper going here. There's no doubt that there were powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been in on it as well. The big man with the little handcuffs? According to what he told us. He was tricked by the chief warder. He says he knew nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing. Just who was behind the jailbreak all those years ago? Are we ever going to find out the truth? Tell us about Clint's autopsy. What was the key piece of evidence? You mentioned the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks. It was at a time when carrying out autopsies of murder victims was very unusual. It's still not a practice that's observed in our country, even now. It turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as the secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. Uh-huh. Really? Really? That's right, my daddy. And there was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East. Wait, a visiting student? It must have been my father, Eugen Mikitoba. I had no idea Professor Mikitoba had been involved in something so important. Man, all the key players are coming back together. What's the outcome of that historic autopsy? It was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor. Or was it? So that's how they came to identify Genshin Ashogi as the infamous mass murderer? Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us any more? Would you like to see the records for yourself? Of course we would. Would that be all right? Of course, we'd love to. What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them? They're filed under V at the back of those cupboards, with the other records from the last decade. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Van Zeeks. That's strange. What, Mr. Naruhodo? They aren't here. There's nothing under Van Zeeks. What if those are the Ashogi papers? Oh, I don't know. What if... I'm very curious. There must be. Perhaps somebody took them away? No, no one's allowed to take documents related to the professor case out of this room. But you're right, they're gone. Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember? It was... Oh yes, I remember now. It was 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day, saying he'd like to see the records. Is that Sholmes? No, you don't mean... Herlock Sholmes was his name. Deep down, I knew that was coming. Do you think he stole the records? Yeah. I definitely think that. Oh no, surely not. Iris, that can't be right, can it? She's like, Iris? She can't deny it, though. That's the thing. She's like, I don't want to say yes, but it's exactly something he'd do. Bruno? I hope you don't mind, but... What is it, Iris? I've just remembered something very important I have to do. Is it confront home? Well, is it to convert, talk to him? I'm wondering, you have to go tell him what's on your mind. I'm going to have to leave you now. Oh, this is very sudden, Iris. Well, we'll come with you then. Oh, no, there's no need. You and Bruno can take your time here. Bye for now, then. Good luck. She's gonna go confront him. Wait a minute, little girl. Me? I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you? Was it Iris? Have you, Iris? Yes, 2 years ago, when that detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then, too. That's the way it usually works, yes? Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I must dash. Wait, Iris. I'll brew up a pot for you when you get home. No, I think you stole the papers. She's off. What's the matter with her? She's behaving really strangely all of a sudden. Exactly. Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either. I'll let you get back to sharpening your knives. It's been quite a while since I had any visitors. This was really fun. But next time you come, I'd prefer it if you were ready for dissection. I can't make any promises, sorry. It's a bit strange that the records of Clint Van Zeek's autopsy have disappeared. But I think we've asked all we came to ask now. Alright, so where do we go now? Let's see. Do we go back to Sholmes' suite? I don't know. I'm kind of like suspicious. Let's see if Iris is there. She doesn't appear to be here. She's definitely not here. I kind of didn't expect she would be. Well, we could go talk to Van Zeek's in the prison. See if he has anything to say. He's not here. Okay, so I guess we won't be talking to him. Do we could maybe talk to the prisoner governor, but I don't think we're gonna get anything there. What if we go talk to Kazuma again? Maybe? Nope, he's not here either. Okay. Alright, where is everyone? Okay. Well, let's see. We've been there. Fresno Street Room? Is there going to be a clue here? The 2nd of November? The room on Fresno Street? What's going on here? The police are still busily investigating in here then. But Gina's nowhere to be seen. Where is she? Yes, it has been blissfully quiet, hasn't it? Perhaps she's out investigating on her own, practicing what her boss taught her. Well, I expect she'll be back before too long. Shall we wait? I mean, I guess so, actually. There's something different about this room since last time we were here, isn't there? We could always use the time to investigate more thoroughly. Okay. What's different? Is there new cases on the... Was this suitcase always here? This little trunk wasn't here before, was it? Oh, it appears to be made of metal. It must be very heavy. I wonder to whom it belongs. Let's look at that. Where did it come from? There are some initials on the outside. Look, TG. Is that for Gregson? Tobias Gregson? Let's ask one of the policemen if they know how it came to be here. Alright, what do you think you're doing? Gina? Oh boy. That's my trunk, that is. Hands off. Gina. Well, where were you hiding? I dunno, you leave something unattended for a few seconds and every Tom, Dick, and Harry's got his greedy eyes on it. Just a wild guess, Gina, but... What? Spit it out, Odo? Is it fair to say that you've only owned that trunk since this morning's trial? What? Oh, what are you trying to say? Come on, this trunk goes with me everywhere. Always has. Where have you been the last year? Trying not to incur your wrath, mainly. Yeah, I don't think that it's always been with you. Let's ask about it, huh? Tell me about Gregson. You should hear them talking at the yard now. They should be ashamed of themselves. They're saying that it was the boss who killed all them bludgers. Ah, you mean the whole Reaper thing? Yeah. Apparently, the boss was investigating stuff that no one else at the yard knew nothing about. Stuff to do with all them criminals what got off scot-free. Yes, the ones prosecuted by Lord Van Zeeks, who used bribery and corruption to evade conviction. Well, then obviously it was that bloomin' Reaper, given the orders, weren't it? Maybe. But why would the people be suspecting Inspector Gregson of being involved in the killings? There was a notebook hidden in his office. Oh no, this doesn't sound good. It had details about all the crimes that have been pegged as the Reaper's work. What? No. Did you see it, Gina? Did you see that notebook? They wouldn't flaming let me, cause I'm just an apprentice apparently. But it was me who found it, and he was my boss. That's right. I was pretty miffed about it, so I sneaked a peek at what it said anyway. Oh. That's our Gina. And what did it say? Do tell. So you managed to see what was written in Gregson's secret notebook anyway, did you? Well, I see it. It's my right to read what he wrote. And what had he written, Gina? Dates, times, places, names, and a whole long list of them. All details about the bludger supposed to have been done in by the Reaper. But there couldn't be an explanation for that. Perhaps it was a record of the inspector's investigations into the Reaper's activities. Exactly, that's what I said. That's the first thing you'd think, right? As it happens, it was full of names I recognized anyway. Well, the Reaper's targets were almost exclusively known leaders of London's criminal underworld. Well, yeah, but there was one name right at the end that was a bit odd. At the end of the list, you mean? I'm pretty sure the date against it was 31st October. That's just a few days... Okay, the day before the inspector was found dead. So what was the odd name? It weren't like a name I've ever seen before. It was something like, nah, it's no good. I can't remember it. I don't think it was an English name, put it that way. Oh dear, what a pity. That was something else too. I don't know if it matters, but the same name kept coming up over and over. Is that the real Reaper? Shin, it was. Don't suppose it means anything, but... Shin? That sounds familiar. Where have we heard that? Susato recognizes it, so do... Did you say Shin? Oh, that's the lady, right? The assassin. Okay. Well, it does mean something. Lord Van Zeeks knew the name too. He mentioned her as well. The woman who actually did the deeds. And now we find out her name appeared in Gregson's secret notebook. Interesting. All the cases are tying together. We haven't seen you for a little while, have we, Gina? Well, of course not. I've been busy, ain't I? Investigating and that. The lads at the yard are trying to trace the boss's moments the day before it happened. The day before, that would be the undercover investigation into the Red-Headed League, then. Only the boss didn't go, did he? You found some cove what was pretending to be him, didn't ya, Odo? That's right. That would be Mr. Vigil. Yes, it was Mr. Vigil who actually went to the park on Lime Street that day, posing as Gregson. Well, anyway, you aren't the only one turning stuff up. I got my own ways of getting results. That's what the box is, right? Oh, no, he's got Toby. When me and my partner get together, there's nothing we can't track down. Oh, little Toby. He's such a faithful friend. So have you tracked anything down then? What do you think, eh? Of course we have. Can't tell you though, police business, isn't it? Ugh. Anyway, the point is, if you lot ever need any help, you know who to turn to, right? Me and the Outlander. Right, because he looks oh so hellish honest. He's so cute. Alright, so tell us about Toby. Gina, about your hellhound there? Chief Inspector Toby, you mean? He's the pride of the force, he is. In Japanese, police dog means something quite different and not altogether nice to those involved in crime. But here in Britain, it's a wonderful compliment, it seems, for a canine at least. It should be. After all, in the great exhibition case the other day, it was Toby here who managed to locate Drubber's workshop. That's right. Maybe it's time for another demonstration of what this super dog can do, eh? Do we have something the Chief Inspector could catch the scent of, I wonder? Let's see. What do we have? I mean, we have the will. Alright, let's take a break for the ads and let's think. What do we have exactly? I mean, we have this. Would that help? That was the little policeman. Maybe it could determine where he was at? Possibly. What else would we even have? I mean, there's the wig. It didn't belong to Gregson. Could we maybe use the wig to find out? Possibly. I'm not sure. What else would it even be? We also don't know whose gun this is. I mean, so I would say the wig or the gun or the policeman seems like the best objects. Because, and probably, honestly, the gun, right? We almost are back from the ads. I'm not sure how all these pieces are connecting together exactly. But it's definitely 100% connected to the professor case. There's just no other way. There's too many signs pointing that way for it to be otherwise. But the question is, what would it exactly be? I'm not sure. All right, so it looks like we're back from the ads. All right, so what evidence could we give to Toby? I'm thinking the wig or the gun or the policeman, because these were found at the scene of the crime, right? But the gun, it says probably best to avoid handling it. What if we try the gun? Would that work? Well, Chief Inspector Toby, if you wouldn't mind having a sniff of this. He's sniffing it. Let's see. Woof. The Chief Inspector said woof to that odor. Yes, I heard. Does that mean no? I think perhaps that particular item didn't excite him very much. Okay, so not the gun. Ain't you got nothing else? I'll have a think. What if we try... Alright, so let's do that again. Let's get back to it. Okay. We're trying to trace Inspector Gregson's movements, so... Alright. So if we're trying to trace Inspector Gregson's movements, we could do the policeman. We know that was on him. Would that be the correct item? Let's try this. It could be the wig, but let's try the policeman, because we know that was on Gregson. All right. So, well, Chief Inspector Toby, if you wouldn't mind having a sniff of this, let's see what he thinks. Does he think it's something worth... He might be a little too keen, don't you think? Oh, whoa. That must have been the right item. The Chief Inspector made short work of Gina there. Woof. Oh, he's barking at the case. Look what he's gone to. Oh my, that trunk clearly still has a very strong scent of Inspector Gregson. In other words, it must have belonged to him. Oh, all right. It's a fair cop, I suppose. And you nearly got away with it, too. You'd always talk so proudly of Chief Inspector Toby's nose and what it can achieve. Did it not cross your mind that he might identify something that is right next to us? Yeah, that was a bit of a bloomer, weren't it? That's enough now then, Gina. Eh? I think it's time you told us the truth about that trunk. Yeah, let's hear the truth. What's in it? I want to know. It weren't like that. It just weren't. What are you talking about? I know what's gone through that head of yours, but that ain't what happened. Alright then, what did happen? Well, like I said before, we were trying to trace the boss's movements. So I let Toby here have a whiff of the boss's overcoat. And as soon as I done that, he went off like a shot. Straight to that sandwich. To a sandwich, not to a bag of chips. Mr. Naruto, I believe Gina means the witness. Oh, Mr. Sandwich. Oh, I forgot about that sandwich. Yeah, he had it in between them wooden boards of his, the boss's trunk. You mean when they heard the sound like a gunshot and all piled in here? Exactly. It nabbed it from the scene. Goodness. Man, the Chief Inspector gave that sandwich a good grilling, and you know what he said? I thought it might fetch a good price, and the chap wouldn't be needing it anymore, so... But that's all I did. Nothing more and nothing less. Would you Adam and Eve the cheek of it, eh? Still in the dead boss's stuff to flog. So Miss Venus wasn't the only one to meddle with the scene of the crime then. How could they? So anyway, that's how it happened. And it's a pretty decent chunk, so I figured I might as well make use of it. Is there something wrong with that, eh? Well, Maybe you and Mr. Sandwich should try to find the answer to that question together. I wonder if we'll be able to look in it. I think perhaps that trunk should be turned over to the police, don't you? What are you on about? I am the police. Gina, if you wouldn't mind, could we maybe examine it? Yeah, all right then. Do what you want with it. Thank you. We shall make a detailed record of our examination of the evidence. All right, so this is going to be important, I bet. Let's see what's in it. Toby? What's the matter with Toby? Why is he acting so aggressively towards me all of a sudden? Mr. Naruto, be careful. It must be the trunk. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. Toby, oi, what are you doing? You're gonna lick his face off. Mr. Naruto. Gina, quickly, hail a carriage. What? What just happened? What in the world just happened? 2nd of November, 4:57 p.m. All right, we're back at home at the Naruto Legal Consultancy. What in the world? Hello? Oh, Mr. Naruto, are you all right? Miss Sasato? Conscious again at last. A blessed relief, my dear fellow. After all, to drop dead after a moderate licking by a small terrier, most unseemly. What is or isn't seemly is irrelevant here, Mr. Sholmes. Everyone's afraid of Sasato. I'm so glad there's no lasting damage. How are you feeling? I'm fine, thank you. Did you bring me back here? What's this on my head? A bandage? Sadly, we had no ice, so that's a compress of sugar water. Sugar water? And don't worry, Mr. Naruto. It's a first aid treatment that my father taught to me. Oh, thank you. So let us take tea when you're filling up to it. But, of course, no sugar in the patient's cup. The bump on my head is throbbing sweetly enough, don't worry. Whenever you feel ready, then. Oh, boy. Well, first thing I want to do is I want to look in this. Do we still have the box? I want to look at this and see what's here. There's a scratch here. Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the leather and into the metal behind. Gosh, for a metal chest like this to have been so badly damaged. Whatever made the gash must have struck the side of the trunk with considerable force. I wonder how it happened. Alright, excuse me? Look at this dark stain here. Do you think... Yes, I'm afraid so. I think it's blood. I knew you were gonna say that. So that presumably means that this was present at the scene when Inspector Gregson was killed. It's the most logical conclusion, yes. Do you think Gina's been carrying this around with her? If you didn't know any better, I suppose it does look like a grease stain from all the fish and chips. Alright, I guess. Let's see if we can open it up. Let's have a look inside. Oh boy. What do we got? We got a note. What is this? Look, there's something inside. Oh, let's see. It appears to be a passport authorizing him to travel overseas. Was Inspector Gregson about to go on a trip abroad then? The only thing we knew about was that he was getting transferred to France, right? Perhaps the date of departure might tell us something. That was... Oh. What is it? It was for travel on 31st October. just one day before the incident. What? Really? Okay. Huh. Gregson went to France the day before his body was discovered? Interesting. Is there anything else in here? It doesn't look like it, so... What is going on with this, I wonder? Tobias Gregson. Within date of departure with one week from October 31st, Port of Dunkirk, France, police business. Permission for the applicant and one additional person for travel. What is that all about, I wonder? Let's see. Can we talk to Sholmes? See what he has to say? Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sholmes. My dear fellow, think nothing of it. I must say I was quite startled when I heard that you'd been attacked by a dog. For a moment, I feared the infamous murder of so many had come back from the dead. You mean the professor? Fortunately, I see your prize throat is unscathed. That stiff turned-up collar of yours obviously afforded some welcome protection. Was I that close to death? All I really remember is the dog licking my face over and over and over again. Well, if you wish to avoid such troubles in the future, a little mustard spread on the cheek should do the trick. We're totally gonna wander around with mustard on our cheeks? I should think that would balance the sweetness of your bandage rather splendidly. Oh boy. Do we have Iris in here, I wonder? I don't know. What else can we look at? What is this? You see, I've been keeping my desk beautifully covered in papers as always. You really must tidy it up, Mr. Naruhodo. No more excuses. Passport number is ACD0522, a reference to Arthur Conan Doyle, born on May 22nd. That is pretty cool. That's pretty nifty. I love all the fun facts and the hidden little, just all the references that you find. But Miss Susato, the way I see it, all these papers building up on my desk like this are a reminder of my wonderfully diverse daily life. I like to leave them as they are, so I never forget how lucky I am to have such varied experiences. In that case, you should definitely have a thorough tidy. Then you'll be able to see your papers building up all over again and feel that joy renewed. Still can't beat her in an argument, even though I'm the lawyer here. Let's see. Is there anything else? I guess we can take tea now. Whenever you serve me tea, it always takes me back to Japan. I know you're not particularly fond of the bitter taste, are you? So I do always try to pick out less bitter matcha for you. She does often serve up an unusually mellow blend, it's true. But the anticipation of the taste in my mouth makes me bitterly worried anyway. It is very difficult for you, isn't it? What about this? The steam is rising gently from the kettle as always. Yes, it doesn't feel right somehow unless it is. But the steam has an unusual scent today. Perhaps the sweet potatoes that I brought back from Japan with me are ready. Is she boiling them in the kettle? Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, I heard that, you know. Tears of joy, Miss Susato, from my mouth. Okay, is there anything else that we need to examine? What's out here? Or we could go out. Your room across the hall is undisturbed, of course. I don't suppose I'd be permitted to see inside now that you're back, though, would I? You know very well that only Iris is allowed inside. Yes, I heard you two giggling together in there again last night. You can visit Mr. Sholmes in his room, Mr. Naruhodo. Last time I did that, he tried to convince me to drink some strange concoction he'd mixed up. There might not be much else to look at. Let's see. Oh, the sea life seems very content in there, I must say. I've noticed something recently, actually. The anemones breed at a most extraordinary rate. Oh, really? It's a mystery why the whole seabed isn't buried in a mountain of them, actually. Oh, how splendid. That really is a mystery, isn't it? I wish there was someone here to explain Susato-san's strange reaction to that. Alright, do we have anything else? We got the calligraphy desk here. My desk is just as it was before I left. Sumi ink and a calligraphy brush, even though we're in England now. That strikes me as typically you, Miss Susato, and typically not you at the same time. Well, I do enjoy all the wonderful new things to come out of the West in the Cultural Revolution, of course. But I'm not ready to give up on my brush just yet. And anyway, Susato-san can write more neatly with a brush than most people can with a pen. Practice makes perfect, as they say. Alright, anything else? Anything over here we need to look at? We've got the shovel. I think we've talked about this shovel before. The spade is still here, look. Please, Mr. Naruhodo, it's not a spade, as I think you well know. It's a shovel. It didn't take long to reignite that old argument. I have an idea. Let's give the implement a name, like Professor Hairbrain named his tools. Oh, I never thought of doing that. From now on then, let's call it Ryonosuke. No. It's clearly much more of a Susato. The old argument has taken a new and unexpected turn, it seems. Oh boy. Alright. Can we, like, present anything? We've already talked to him. I think that's about all we can do. Is there anything can we present the passport to her? Like, if we present this, what does she say? About this, Mrs. Sato, do you notice anything unusual about it, perhaps? I'm sorry, I don't know. I'll redouble my efforts and spend more time doing research, so that the next time I won't let you down again. I think perhaps you're taking your role as judicial assistant a little too far. Alright. Talk to Gina again. Alright, so we'll talk to Gina again one more time, and then we will call it for this episode. So let's see. Let's see. She's at the street room. We can show her what we found in the box. Let's see. Is she here? Oh, there she is. Let's talk to Gina. Alright. Gina, I'm really sorry. Oh, is she sad? It's daft, isn't it? If you asked me a year ago, the cops could go hang for all I cared. But we've got to have police, ain't we, to catch the bludgers? So us divers can go about our business in peace. Wait, sorry? I don't think I can have heard that properly. He said he was gonna teach me everything I needed to know to be a detective. But all he got around to showing me is where the best flaming fish and chip shops are. Actually, that reminds me. Gregson said he was supposed to be going to Paris in the near future, didn't he? Yes. Was she his +1? Is something wrong? Oh, no. I'm sure I'm reading too much into things. It's just that the timing seems very coincidental. Hmm? You know, the boss was acting a bit strange recently. Like, it was always in a rush. Okay, interesting. Well, I think we're going to think about what we need to do, and we will come back to this again. So let's go ahead and give it a save. Let's give it a save. And this one. We got an achievement for that, by the way, so thank you. Alright. Now let's go back to the title. We just saved. We don't need to save again. Alright. Alright, so where exactly is this mystery going? We have found a passport in the box. And there's definitely blood on that box. So what exactly was going on? Was it the murder weapon? It was definitely at the scene. Well, where was that scene? Was it somehow related to his going to France? What exactly are we going to figure out about Gregson's murder? We're going to have to explore this some more in the next episode. So if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/LeoR27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games we're playing each day, I post them on x.com/LeoR27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. But that is going to be it for today. We will be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central. We will be playing some more Nancy Drew. I still haven't gone and tried to golf some more, so we may be trying to make par on the golf course before we continue to investigate. I'm not sure. We'll just have to see. And we will also be pulling Miss 3 afterwards. So that will be a lot of fun. Let's see. Who can we raid? Let's look and see. See who is on. But again, that's going to start at 3 p.m. Central tomorrow. What do we got? Trying to find somebody we haven't visited in a while. We've visited quite a few people. All right. Let's see. Man, like so many people we have visited. It's crazy. All the people I'm like, well, maybe we haven't visited them. Nope, we visited them. Let's see. What can we do? I'm looking to see. We got, who is this? Oh, that's, I don't know. Okay, so here is another Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Let's see. I'm not sure. I think this is before we've already done this one, I think. So we will raid Dragon Drop It. That's an interesting name. They are also playing Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So we'll go stop in and say hi. And thank you everybody who hung out today. Thank you so much for your chats and for your views. I appreciate everybody. And I hope to see you tomorrow for some Nancy Drew and Mist 3. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, guys, bye.